All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're talking about a major shakeup happening in the world of AI. There's a new model on the scene, and trust me, it is making some serious waves, especially for anyone who works in software development.
So, let me just ask you this. What if I told you there's an AI out there that can grab a complex coding project and just work on it all by itself for 7 hours straight? I know, it sounds a little bit like science fiction, but that's the new reality we're going to unpack. And yeah, because of capabilities just like that one, this new model from a company called Anthropic is being called a complete game changer. We're not talking about a small incremental update here. The claim is that this could totally change the way developers work. So, let's see if the hype is real. Okay, so the model at the heart of all this buzz is Claude 4.1. This is the latest, most powerful AI from Anthropic, a company, by the way, that was founded by former top people from OpenAI, and it was built from the ground up to really push the limits of what AI can do, especially when it comes to coding. But you know, bold claims are one thing. Performance is everything. To see how Claude 4.1 really measures up, we've got to look at the numbers, the hard data from the big industry tests that measure how well it solves actual, real-world problems. First up, we've got something called the SWE bench. Now, this isn't just some academic test. It basically throws real software engineering problems from GitHub at an AI to see if it can fix them. On this benchmark, Claude 4.1 scored a whopping 74.5%. But that number on its own is only half the story. The real kicker is how it compares to its main competitor. Get this. Its closest rival, OpenAI's super-capable GPT 4.1 model, only scores 54.6% on the exact same test. That is a nearly 20-point gap. In the world of AI development, that is not just a lead, that is a massive, massive leap forward. Okay, but what about tasks that are more complex, more autonomous? That's where the terminal bench test comes in. It tests if an AI can act like a true agent, operating on its own in a command line environment, figuring out a whole sequence of steps to solve a problem. Here, Claude 4.1 comes out on top with 43.3%.
And when you zoom out and look at the whole competitive field for this test, Claude isn't just leading, it's leading by a lot against both OpenAI's latest O3 model and Google's Gemini 2.5 Pro. So this isn't about winning by a nose. A clear pattern is emerging here. Across multiple, really difficult, real-world benchmarks, Claude 4.1 is the new king of the hill.
So the numbers are pretty mind-blowing, right? But what does all this performance actually mean for a business? Let's switch gears from the benchmarks and look at the features that make this model not just powerful, but actually ready for enterprise-level work. And this brings us right back to that crazy 7-hour number from the beginning. In a test with the e-commerce giant Rakuten, Claude was handed a really tough open-source refactoring job, and it just went to work, running on its own for 7 hours straight with sustained performance. That proves it has the stamina for the long haul, not just these quick little tasks.
And a huge reason it can do that is its memory. Claude 4.1 has what's called a context window of 500,000 tokens. To put that in perspective, that's kind of like having an AI that can read the entire novel The Great Gatsby and then read it 3 more times, and remember every single word all at once. This huge memory lets it tackle enormous code bases without losing the plot.
And it's not just about raw power. Anthropic clearly built this thing for business. It's got all the enterprise-level security stuff you'd expect, like single sign-on and role-based access controls. It has advanced tools for admins. Plus, it's already integrated into the places businesses actually work, like Amazon Bedrock and Google's Vertex AI, and it's even popping up in GitHub Copilot. But here's where things get really interesting, and what makes Anthropic, well, different. Incredible performance is only half their story. A core part of their whole mission is a deep commitment to building AI that is safe and responsible. They believe you shouldn't have to pick between having a powerful tool and a safe one, and their unique way of doing this is called constitutional AI. So instead of just showing the AI millions of examples and saying, do this, not that, they actually give it a rule book, a literal constitution of ethical principles to follow. The AI then teaches itself to make sure its answers line up with that constitution, making it helpful and harmless by design. And this quote right here, it just perfectly nails their whole philosophy. For any business out there that's worried about the risks of using AI, this built-in ethical compass is Anthropic's big answer. They're not just selling you performance, they're selling you trust and safety as a feature.
And this whole combo, crazy performance plus a focus on safety, it's definitely turning heads in the market. And you know how you can always tell? You just follow the money. Let's look at the investment landscape, because the cash flowing into Anthropic tells a story all by itself.
I mean, just look at how fast the valuation has exploded. Back in March of this year, a funding round valued the company at over $61 billion. Then, just 4 months later, another $5 billion investment sent its valuation into the stratosphere, to a staggering $170 billion.
So that kind of money isn't just for show. It completely changes the game. This means Anthropic isn't just some interesting little startup anymore. They are now firmly in the big leagues, a true heavyweight contender standing shoulder to shoulder with the giants, OpenAI and Google.
Which brings us to the big final question, and it's a fascinating one. Anthropic is making a huge bet that you don't have to choose between world-class capability and foundational safety. As these AI models get more and more powerful, it really makes you wonder, what's going to matter more in the end? Raw power or power that's built with a conscience? Definitely something to chew on. Thanks for sticking with me for this explainer.